If you're looking to open your law firm and to do so and to build your own six-figure law firm without a big team, without years of experience, we're going to talk about how you can do so today. I'm Darcel Lobo. I'm a solo attorney. I built my own law firm from the ground up, and today we're going to talk you through how you can do the same and build your own six-figure law firm. We're talking about startup essentials, how to get clients, setting your fees, and how to scale in a way that's smart and without overspending. Now, one caveat is that a lot of times I'll hear attorneys or law firm owners talk about being a six-figure law firm. And I'm here to tell you, there's a big difference in a six-figure firm, right? You can have a firm that's earning $100,000. You can have a firm that's earning $800,000, right? Six figures is quite a wide spread. And I'll tell you that I have solo law firm owners who are earning maybe $350,000 of revenue in their law firm, and they are doing better. And when I say better, I mean they're more profitable than some law firms that are earning $800,000. And why is that? Because the $800,000 firm has very high overhead expense. I have seen so many times where firms at that size, the owners are earning less income personally than the solo who has a 350K revenue. So let's talk about opening your own law firm and getting yourself to those first six figures. So we have covered kind of the nuts and bolts of how to open a law firm in prior videos. So I will have those linked down below because there's a lot of videos that I've done about how to do so, what kind of tech you need, how to do so on low overhead on a small budget. That's how I opened my law firm. I did not have a big budget. I did not take out debt. I didn't use a loan. I didn't use a credit card. I paid out of pocket, and I hit the ground running knowing that if I didn't bring any revenue in, I wasn't going to get paid. So that's how I built my firm. That's how I help other solos build their law firms. But the first lesson when you open your own law firm, when you've decided to go solo, yes, you're a lawyer, but now you are also a business owner, and you are a business owner first. And so many times that can be kind of hard to kind of redirect your focus, is that your focus has been, doing good work as a lawyer. And that is important. It's not to minimize the importance of that, but you can be the best lawyer. If you don't have any clients, your law firm is not going to be successful. So we need to focus on being a business owner first when we open our solo law firms. And so in doing so, you're going to be committing to doing marketing, doing selling, and building systems and processes to make your law firm run efficiently and be profitable for you. And let's talk about your brand kind of briefly. I do think that as solos, you have the advantage of developing your own brand, your own voice for your law firm. But in order to do so, you need to be very clear on who your ideal client is, what your brand message is, who do you help, how can you help them. That's what we need to identify. Being a general practitioner is really going to water down and dilute that message. So we need to figure out, what are you going to be known for? Who can you help? When are people going to think of like, oh, I need to refer that case to Jane because Jane does blah, 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 right? Like you want to be known for whatever it is that you are going to primarily focus on in your practice. That's not to say you can't have more than one practice area. That's not to say you can't have like a general, like a PI practice or a criminal practice. That's fine. But I think within those practice areas, they're so large that you really should kind of narrow down to within those fields, what are you doing? Like for me in my practice, a big part of my practice for many years was bankruptcy. And so bankruptcy is kind of a wide net. It could be chapter 7s, chapter 13s, chapter 11s, chapter 12s, right? You can be debtor side, you can be creditor side. That's a wide range. And so my focus as a bankruptcy attorney was homeowners who are facing foreclosure. That was my ideal client. That was going to be a Chapter 13 client for me. If you're familiar with bankruptcy, you know what I'm talking about. And so, yes, I did Chapter 7s. Yes, I helped people who weren't facing foreclosure. But my primary marketing message was geared towards those homeowners who are facing foreclosure, right? So within your practice area, you want to figure out kind of who is your ideal client, and really kind of focus and narrow that down. Now you're going to, with your practice area, you're going to get people who don't fall within that, and that's okay. But you want to know, who are you speaking to? And a bit on practice areas, I do think, generally speaking, that it's a good idea for a solo to have more than one practice area, especially if a practice area that you have can be market driven. Like for me, bankruptcy can be heavily market driven, right? Like during COVID, there were no bankruptcy cases, and the bankruptcy attorneys I knew who only did bankruptcy had to pivot really quickly, or had to shut their law firm down and find a job somewhere else, because there were no bankruptcy filings during COVID. Pretty much, like, there was a moratorium on foreclosures, there was a moratorium on garnishments, there weren't any collections, like there just weren't a lot of people filing bankruptcy. So I also do estate planning and probate. I also do real estate, and so my estate planning and probate practice really carried my firm through COVID, where if I was only doing bankruptcy, I really would have suffered in my law firm. Let's talk about how to get your first 10 clients when you've opened your doors as a solo attorney. And hopefully you have some lead time before you've opened your law firm. So if you're in law school and you're deciding you're going to go out on your own, or if you're looking to quit a job and open your own law firm, ideally we have some kind of runway between where you are and when you're going to open your law firm. For me, that was about 5-6 months. That's really long. You don't need that long. I didn't need that long. I was very hesitant and unsure if I could figure out how to open a law firm and be successful. So I gave myself a really long runway, but you don't need that. Usually a solid good 3 months is really good. But if you have less, that's okay. We'll work with whatever you have, because a big part of finding your first 10 clients is developing your network, right? Former co-workers, friends, family, law student peers, other professionals other attorneys that you know. What you should have is a networking or a contact spreadsheet of all the people who could potentially refer cases to you. You need to make that list. It should have at least 25 people on it, but it should actually have a lot more. But just to start, let's have a goal of 25. And then we're going to reach out to them to let them know about what you're doing, about your firm, and what kind of clients you can help, how they know that they have someone who could be a good referral for you. We need to start doing that and telling people what it is that you do and how you can help, and announcing that you've gone out on your own. We also want to make sure we're claiming our digital space. So online, if you're going to do social media, claiming those social media profiles. On Google, make sure you've claimed your Google My Business profile and filled that out fully with photos of you. You should have photos on there. Claim your Avo profile. I'm not a big proponent of paying for Avo. I have not paid for Avo. I don't really suggest it, unless maybe if you're in a contingency type practice, right? Maybe if you do PI work, Avo could be a good one for you. But otherwise, in my practice, I have not found Avo to really be good leads. Again, that's just my experience and what I've seen in talking to colleagues and other law firm owners. I seem to kind of agree. Again, if you do contingency type work, maybe Avo might be a better lead generator for you. The bottom line is that you need to be telling people what it is that you do and how you can help them. That way they know how to get clients to you. Let's talk about pricing and profit. If you want to do flat fees, and I'm a big proponent of flat fees, I am primarily flat fee in my practice. But if you're just starting out, you may or may not know how long certain tasks are going to take you. You may not quite know how long it's going to take you to do a full estate plan, or how long it's going to take you to handle that misdemeanor case, or to do that flat fee divorce. So some of this may be trial and error. You may find that you do some work billable until you can kind of get a good grasp as to how many hours things take to be able to start doing flat fee in the future. So if you're doing flat fees, make sure you are tracking your time so you know how long it takes you to get the work done. Because otherwise, how are you going to know if your flat fee is a reasonable and market rate fee? You're not going to know if you don't know how long it takes you to get the work done. So make sure you're tracking your time, even if you're doing flat fee. And something else on your rates, whether you're hourly or flat fee. I understand the inclination to maybe have a lower fee, but don't strive to be the cheapest attorney in town. We're not doing a race to the bottom of the barrel. So if you are new to being an attorney, if you don't have a lot of experience, then yes, it may be appropriate for you not to have, the highest fee for your practice area. But if you're not new to the practice and you just are inclined to think, oh, well, I'm new to going solo, so let me keep my price lower, don't devalue yourself. Don't under earn for yourself. The services that you are delivering to your client are worth whatever the current market rate is for your flat fee. So don't, again, race to the bottom of the barrel trying to be the cheapest attorney in town, because that's not going to be the client that you want. That's not the practice that you want to build for yourself. That's not the law firm that you want. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your pricing and trying to decide what your price should be. And just know, if you pick a price now, if you don't like it, you can change it in 3 months. You can change it whenever you want to. Again, you are the owner of your law firm. You get to decide. So you set the fee, decide if it's too low, if it's too high, and adjust it accordingly, right? At that point, going forward. But you're not stuck in one flat fee. You get to make these decisions for your law firm and what you think is appropriate. Make sure you're tracking your finances also. So when I went out on my own, I've told this before, but when I went out on my own, I didn't have like QuickBooks or Clio or My Case or any of those things. I literally use a Word document for tracking my P&L. So like the money that came in, the expenses that I paid, I used a Word document to track that. My poor CPA for that first year, it was a little bit, it wasn't, I wouldn't call it a mess, but because it was pretty like clear cut as far as what was what. But just, I'm sure for them to try and turn that into something, for my taxes and my books, I'm sure it wasn't the most convenient. Now I have a bookkeeper who does my books for me. It's all through QuickBooks. I use My Case for my case management software. Before I had that, I used a whiteboard, or I printed out a spreadsheet of all my bankruptcy cases, of all my estate plans, of all my probates, and where they were, and reviewed those. So don't feel the need to overspend when you first go out on your own. You don't need all the fancy software, right? What are the bare minimum essentials that you need to be able to run your law firm? And you can get fancy, add more tech later on. Again, I used a Word document for tracking my cases and tracking P&Ls, and it worked out just fine. Along those same lines, when you're tracking your finances, you need to know what it costs to run your business. So if you haven't opened your own law firm yet and you want to do so in the future, or if you currently have a law firm and you realize that you're not really clear on what it costs to run your law firm, make sure you get the free business plan. I linked that down below to help you kind of lay the foundation of your law firm, know where you're going, and ensure that you are guided by your business plan and making decisions. But also in there, I've included a spot for you to kind of keep track of what it costs to open your law firm, and then your monthly just overhead expenses in running the business as far as what that costs. So that's down there for free. Make sure you get that. And then make sure you are paying yourself consistently. Even if it's small at first, you should be on your own payroll. If you've just opened your law firm, month one, you're probably not getting paid, right? However, pretty soon thereafter, you should start to get paid. You should have regular pay dates for yourself. Now, talk to your tax person about what kind of entity structure. I have an S Corp for my law firm. It may or may not be right for you, so talk to them about that. And then a great book about this, about just your finances, is Profit First. And they actually have a Profit First for lawyers. So I recommend that as a read for as far as managing your books and paying yourself. Now, I do not follow that book to a T. I think it recommends having like 6 or 7 different bank accounts for your business. I don't go that far, but I will tell you that I am on payroll. I get paid first. I don't just get whatever's left. You know what I mean? Like, you should not be the last thing to get paid. You should not be the last expense to get paid in your business. You should be first. So make sure you read that book if you haven't read it yet. It's a good one. And the one that's for lawyers is really good for law firm owners. When it comes to developing your systems and scaling, when you've gone out on your own, it's just you. And you are doing everything. You're doing the lawyering, you are doing the marketing, you are doing HR, you're handling customer complaints, you are doing the intake, you're doing all the things. And even though you're doing all the things, We want to try and document how we do things when we do them. So creating templates for emails and your contracts and just how you do things in your firm. I have a folder in our firm's Dropbox that kind of really details like how to scan files, how to organize them, how to answer the phones. We have email drafts for certain emails that we send out on a regular basis, right? So you want to start building that. I kind of call it like my Bible for my law firm, right? It's like how we do. It's all the internal processes in our firm. So even though it's just you should start creating that now, because at some point you're going to be bringing on help. You're going to be getting to a point where you need some, even if it's just part-time, some kind of help. And so you want to have started to build those systems and document them from when you do bring someone on board. You're going to want to look at using tech for client scheduling and intake and onboarding. So start to look into those things again once you have the income coming in to be able to do so. But you can get some pretty low cost tech to really help you be more efficient in your law firm and to improve the process from the customer service experience. Like, what are your clients experiencing when they contact your law firm? We want to make that as smooth as possible as we can for them, and tech can be a great way to do so. And then once you get busy enough, you're going to start to bring on some help, whether it's a virtual assistant or someone doing intake, some kind of part-time support. I mentioned before also that usually I feel around 14 to 15,000 a month is when a solo is ready to bring on some part-time help. That's just what I've seen in my experience as far as when the attorney is ready to do so and has that revenue coming in on a regular basis. And so if you're earning less than 10K a month, you're not ready to hire any kind of part-time help. Probably a virtual receptionist, maybe a little bit of tech to help with the calendaring and scheduling, and document automation, but you're not actually hiring another person until you've passed that 14 to 15K a month mark. And so the goal of this video was to help you kind of lay some foundations and processes in place to help you hit your first six figures. You can hit for six figures in your first year, no doubt. I would say probably in about 6 months, you can hit the six figures. Certainly well within 1 year, you should be able to do so. You should be able to surpass $100,000 in your business. If you take the time to do the things that we've gone over today and really building out your network, identifying good referral sources, and telling people what you do and how you can help them. People aren't going to know unless you tell them. And you can't just tell them one time. You have to tell them over and over and over. And when you are a law firm owner, it can feel a little slow sometimes when you're first taking off. Just keep showing up in whatever you're doing. If you're writing blogs, if you're making videos, if you're posting on social, any kind of content you're doing, if you have an email newsletter you send out, keep showing up, okay? And along those same lines, you can have a little bit of imposter syndrome in there, and that's normal. You're doing something new. You've never done this before. You've never opened a law firm before. If you're anything like me, you didn't have anyone to show you the exact ropes on how to do it. I mean, even when I went out on my own in 2016, that's almost 10 years ago now, there's so much more out now than there was when I went out on my own. And I was trying to figure out, how do I do this? And how do I, have a law firm that supports how I want to live and I had 2 small kids at the time. And so being able to be there at their PTA meetings for their schools and sporting events and Girl Scouts, I wanted to be able to do those things, but also have the career satisfaction that I had worked so hard for prior, right? Having gone through college and law school and becoming an attorney, that's no small feat. And I wanted to have a fulfilling career while also being able to show up as I wanted to as a mom and as a wife for my family. And so that was really a big one for me. And there's a lot of times that I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to figure this out. Let me tell you, nobody has it all figured out. We are all figuring it out as we go. And as long as you know and can trust yourself to figure it out, you may not have all the answers now. Even now, I've been an attorney for 16 years. I've been on my own for 9 years now. I don't have it all figured out. I don't know everything. I never will. But I know that I'm resourceful. I know that I know how to figure it out. I know where to go to get answers to those questions. When it comes to running my business, or a client's legal issue, whatever it may be, I know how to figure things out for myself, for my firm, for my clients, and I know that you do also. And sometimes it can be hard to remember that when you're navigating law firm ownership and entrepreneurship, but you do, if you've gotten this far, you know how to take the next step and to get the answers to the questions that you might have. So again, building a six-figure law firm certainly can be done. You can do it within 12 months. I would go to say as low as 6 months, but at least within those first 12 months, you can do so. I've done it. I know plenty of lawyers who have done it, and you can do it as well. So on this channel, we talk about all things law firm ownership and juggling kind of work and family life, taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself. So if this is helpful to you, please make sure you stick around. I'd love to have you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.